And this guy came up to me, I think I'm falling in love with you. And I was like, what's happening? Yeah, he starts sending me quotes. I met this older woman. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna say it. I love you. I was like, beep, beep, beep.
Wow.
This program contains coarse language and discusses mature themes. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome to The Birds and the Bee with Chelsea B. Live version.
Indeed. Yeah, we're trying a little experiment this time, and we've reformatted, redesigned a little bit, trying to make it a little bit more cozy.
Cozy and casual.
Today, I'm going to take over sort of the hosting duties and turn the tables over to Chelsea and ask her a little bit about where she's been, what she's been up to, because you haven't been here in New York City the last couple months and change.
4 months.
Yeah, tell me, how did that begin? Where did this come from? What was last year like, and how did we get here?
Oh, Lord. Let's see. Well, it started with having to move out of our apartment where we used to live. And I was trying to decide what the next move was. And I always wanted to do more traveling. And then I guess it just kind of segued into ordering a backpack on Amazon and filling up that backpack. And I bought a one-way ticket to Spain. So I have a friend who lives out there. So I went to Spain. I was there for about a month and a half, did some exploring. Yeah, met some cool people, saw some cool stuff, ate some good food. And then I was trying to figure out where to go next because I didn't really have a plan. And then I found this site where you register and you get a background check and all of that. And for people who own pets and are going away on a holiday or, vacation trip, whatever, you have a conversation about what the requirements are, and then you go stay at their house and watch their pets. So I got the first one I applied to, I got accepted, and then I went to the UK, which was my first time in the UK. So I went and stayed in this really small random village about 45 minutes outside of London. I was there for about 3 weeks and stayed with the cutest little pup and a kitty. And met some cool people there. There was like one pub in town it was called The Cock.
Oh my goodness.
And I met some really cool people there. And then from there, I applied for another one of those gigs. And then I got accepted at that one. And then there was like about 3 days in between those. So then I went to London and kind of poked around.
So where did content creation come into this? Because everyone has this idea that you've just been gone shooting stuff in Europe, having a crazy, sexy adventure. What happened to content?
I had some sexy adventures. I think I was shooting a lot of solo content, but it was challenging because I wasn't staying in like the major cities, and I didn't rent a car or anything, and so I was always just a little bit outside of these major hubs. And it was really difficult for me to find people. I also was trying to figure out the testing situation over there. And then, I ended up just staying inside a lot and filming solo stuff. I was doing a lot of customs. So, I had myself a few sexy adventures, I will admit. But, I didn't really work with other creators while I was out there. Not for lack of want, but it was just difficult to kind of navigate and plan and all of that.
The question then people that often ask is were you giving up on New York City? What was the are you coming back? Are you going to stay here? Is this your base now? That's the big question is where does New York City fit into your life?
It's a good question. When I left, I was kind of at a point where I was just very frustrated with the cost of living, and like the situation with having to move out of my apartment was not because I wanted to move. It was just those darn rent raises that are unsustainable. And yeah, just the cost of being alive, which I'm learning is just difficult everywhere. So when I left New York, I was just kind of like, can I cuss? Can I curse?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Oh,
Go
that
ahead.
was
Go for it.
one thing in the UK. They were like, God, you curse a lot. I was like, ooh, sorry. Yeah, so when I was leaving New York, I was just kind of like, fuck this place. Like, I'm so over it. But I really started to miss it. I mean, granted, I will say I was pretty isolated while I was traveling. I wanted to go and travel alone. I wanted to kind of get some time and figure out, what I wanted to do with my future. And eventually when I was in the UK, I was just like missing home. And for me, home has been New York for the past 10 years. So I bought a ticket back. I had just like the quickest 9-hour layover in Iceland.
Oh, no big deal.
Which I was bummed because I had 9 hours, but I landed at like 9 p.m. and then my flight was at like 9 a.m.
You couldn't experience an Icelandic hot dog.
I don't think the stall was open, and yeah, which I didn't know that hot dogs were a thing in Iceland until recently. And when I was there, I was like, why are there hot dog stands everywhere? I was like, try this the famous Icelandic hot dogs. I was like, is that famous for hot dogs? I did not try one, sadly. But now I wish I would have. Yeah, and I will say, and normally when I would leave New York, when I was living here, and I would fly back in, I would just immediately get stressed out. I would just get so anxious, and I was like, oh gosh, like back to the grind. And the grind is hard. But this time around, landing back in New York, I felt like a sense of relief. I felt it was really nice to have some familiarity again in a place where I was comfortable with people that I knew. And it really did feel like coming back home. And so now, I mean, I'm actually kind of, outside of content creation, I do other work. I do some consulting work. And so I'm kind of in a position where I will either be going to a very small town to work with a company that I've been working with, or with which I've been working for since January, or I will be staying here because I might be going on full time with another company that I've been working with here in the city. So I'm kind of, I don't know yet. But and as frustrating as New York is, I love it. I love New York. I missed being able, things just closed at like 8, 9 p.m. places that I was at. Yeah, I just miss the food, the buzz, the people, just a lot. And so
you can't get that somewhere else. I mean, you can.
I can't get it in this very small town that I might be going to, where it's small.
Do you think that's the best place for you? Like the people that I've talked to, like, oh, Chelsea's thinking about going into the middle of the country, very, very small town of less than 10,000 people. And often the question is that really what she wants, or is she going to have buyer's regret?
That's the tough question. I mean, thinking logically about, my own goals in the future, like I do, would love to have a house. That seems like it might not be possible anywhere at this point. And I do want a family. And, when it comes to like cost of living, the costs are a lot less, and it's a lot more subdued. It's I love being out in nature. I love hiking. I love swimming. I love going in lakes. I really want to go rock climbing. I love being outdoors. And, while you can have those opportunities not that far upstate in New York, there is something very desirable for me about just kind of going to a more remote location and getting out and trying something brand new. But I will say, when I packed my backpack, my original plan was to go out for a year and just travel around.
Yeah,
and
what
then
happened with that?
not very quickly. I wouldn't say very quickly, but I did realize eventually that living out of a backpack is not my favorite thing to do. I, was in other people's homes and wanting my own. And I also just really like to do like little crafts. I get like hyper fixated on like little projects. Like I'm going to try wood burning now. And then I get all my like supplies to do wood burning. And then I do it once and then I get distracted and then I go on to the next one. But I love doing art. And so carrying around art supplies isn't really like, you have a backpack. So you have to be really careful. You have to really choose wisely, like what you are including in that. And I didn't really have like my art stuff. Like I have my iPad that I do art on, but I also just really like painting. I like tattooing. I like crocheting. I like doing all of those things and trying out new mediums. And I was really missing that when I was gone. And so that nomad life, I kind of learned maybe isn't for me. And I would rather, and I also I feel like I'm a kind of a fly, by the seat of your pants person, but I was realizing that I wanted things that were a little more planned.
Do you think the idea about having to hold on to only so much while traveling scales up emotionally for you? Like, did that translate to you thinking differently about life, about things, about letting go and things you want to keep?
Yes.
Where did the emotional through line come up with that?
I mean, first of all, again, so when I anticipated going for a year, so I packed some warm clothes. And I guess in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be a lot warmer where I was traveling to.
In December?
It was.
In the northern hemisphere in December. You're like, oh, yes, of course. I remember that episode from The Amazing Race. It was hot then, so it must be hot now.
I brought like 2 swimsuits. Why? And I brought like 2 pairs of I brought shorts. I brought like 4 tank tops. 1 long sleeve. I brought 1 long sleeve with me, which poor planning on my part. So I did learn though, before I get into like the emotional aspects, I did learn that I actually don't need a lot to survive. Like I don't need a lot of things. I just had what was in my backpack and my very heavy duffel bag that I bought in Spain because I was running out of space. I brought a lot of things I didn't ever use, I didn't need. And so that kind of definitely helped me. Like, I think when I eventually find the place where I'm going to settle down, like I will probably get rid of a ton of clothes, donate them. Like I just don't, so many pairs of shoes. Just a lot of things I don't need.
I really hope that this stays recorded and that it doesn't accidentally get deleted somehow, because this is now on the record. So you heard it here first.
That's fair.
She is shedding away some of her wardrobe and shoes. And for anyone that visited us while we were cleaning out the apartment on the way out, you probably have 5 or 6 of her plants. And if there were maybe 40 people who took plants, about 5 plants each, there were several thousand plants.
That's dramatic. There were not. There were like 100 plus, like 150 plus.
There
plants.
were, I think we counted 250 at one point, including all the propagated plants.
Yes,
and all
at
that.
one point I was every avocado and every mango I got
from the grocery store.
From the grocery store, I would
Right.
I would turn those into plants too. It was a little and a lemon. One time I grew like 7 lemons from the little lemon seeds that I got.
Well, when life throws Chelsea lemons, she grows them and hoards them. So,
I mean, is that such a bad thing?
but now you realize that
I don't need all of those
stuff.
things. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think I definitely will live a much more minimalistic type of life. I say this now, it's recorded. But yeah, no, it did teach me that I don't need a lot of things. On that same, sort of during all of these travels and being alone, it gave me a lot of time to think about, who I am and what I want to do and where I want to be. And I'm still figuring it out. I haven't figured anything out yet, really. I also just learned like the days will go by. Like you can keep doing whatever. It's the next day is going to come, or it might not. And so, yeah, that was definitely a learning experience. And I'm still learning. I'm still backpacking, living out of a backpack and doing okay. And I've made it, 4 months and here I am. But I'm very, very glad to be back. I will say I'm glad that I was, when I was, thinking about buying my ticket back, I kept worrying, like, is this a fail? Am I failing by coming back early? And I talked to a lot of people, a lot of like, am I a failure? Am I failing? But no, I don't think so. I think it's okay to try things and give it 100%, which I did. I mean, I left everything behind and I gave it all, and it's okay to learn what you don't want. That's okay too. So, still learning. Not sure. Like it really is kind of a toss-up of whether I stay in New York or whether I go to this super small town in the middle of the country. I don't know yet. I think I'm just gonna keep letting things play out, and I do have to figure it out sooner or later. So the later is swiftly approaching. But yeah.
Where does content fall into this? Where did you learn something along the way of like, are you going to expand this project of content creation, or have you compartmentalized it somehow into your life? Maybe this is something that you'll return to later on. How does that all fit in, especially with what the learning and the growth that you also just alluded to?
I definitely missed making content. I really like, I've met some really, really amazing people doing this work, and I would like to continue to do it. It's been challenging, trying to balance. Well, now I'm back and I'm filming again, and it feels really good to be making things. I think it made me want to be more, I guess, have more of a focus, be more intentional about what I want to create, who I want to work with, and the podcast. I mean, I really miss, like, we did a few shows where I was abroad, and then afterwards I was like, oh, I want to be there in person.
I felt that, yeah.
It was like,
yeah.
I just really wanted to be in the room and talking, and that the screen was really hard for me. And I just think it made me want to be more intentional with what I'm putting out there, with what I'm making. Am I making things that make me happy, that I want to see? And so I think it definitely kind of shifted my focus in that way. I don't want to stop making content. I just want to be more intentional about, not that I'm like not proud of everything that I and we have made thus far. Like I love everything that we've made. I don't think there's anything that I've made where I was just like, I don't like that, or doing it just to do it. I think, me being a media person and now you being part of the media making, like the intentionality of what we're putting out in the world has a big why attached to it. And now I think we've just thought more about like, okay, what kind of media, what kind of content
are we intentionally bringing to other people? And I think we've just, before we were just trying to get our name out there, blah, blah, blah. And now, right, there's intentionality behind it. And that's not a bad thing. I think more people should think about exactly what kind of content they're putting out in the world and why, especially with everyone being so desperate to make something and to monetize and to get their name out, and this desperation cycle, and which leads to like current trends and propaganda and misinformation, fake news, and then just also bad content and unethical, immoral content.
I feel like when you're when you're just getting started, it's about growth, growing your followers, growing your views, growing your subscribers, and it's easy to kind of get to lose your focus. And I think that in the beginning, because now we've been doing this 2 years.
August of 2022, so not even.
Okay.
August 2022 is when you filed for the
Yes.
OnlyFans, but it wasn't until the beginning of 2023 where you actually started collaborating with other people.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, making it. So we have a question.
Oh.
Okay.
Question.
John has a question.
Hello, John.
What was your most memorable place you visited?
Oh, when I was in Spain, and I went to this small town that Rioja. That's probably really wrong. I don't remember.
Red?
I don't remember what it was, but we were driving in this car, and it was so comical because these streets are tiny. And we ended up we somehow ended up in the middle of this town. The signs around were insane, like just like shapes, like you're just supposed to know what the shapes mean. So we're lost in this town driving around. It was so funny. And then eventually we made it out, and then went to this hike, found this mountain, and get out of the car, park the car. We're starting to walk up the mountain, and then this herd of like sheeps and lambs just came trotting up and ran past us. And then we went on this hike and hiked up the mountain, and then at the very top there was just this like really old fort, and then this like formation that had like 3 circles in it, and it was so cool. And you just like, on one side you look around and there's like vineyards, and then you look on this side and it's just like this big valley, and then you see like lemon trees and orange trees, and it was just like, it felt like such a surreal day. It was just like, so it just felt very like picturesque. Yeah, that was my favorite.
Sounds romantic.
It was very romantic, mucho romantico.
So I guess the next question is, you must have had what, 5, 6 Spanish boyfriends and girlfriends, or
no? I met one guy.
Story time.
I know. I met one guy because I found this one bar that I would go to, and I was trying to journal. And then I learned how to order a beer in Spanish. So I would go to the same bar. I'm like a creature of habit. So I would go to this bar. I would order my beers. I was journaling, and this guy came up to me, and we just start talking. He doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Spanish. Embarrassing. I know, I'm Mexican. And we were talking via translator app. Like, so we were just, at first it was he was like, oh yeah, good job on journaling. And I was like, thanks. And then he came back, and then And he would come back inside, and then I was just drinking more beers. And then by the end of it, not by the end of the night, later on in the night, he asked me out to go sit, and it was like him and like a bunch of older men, and we're all sitting out there, and I'm drinking more beers, and we're just talking via translator. I don't know what anybody's saying. And then we leave, we go to another bar, and this man starts just professing his feelings for me, telling me like, I've never felt this way about anyone before, and I think I'm falling in love with you. And I was like, what's happening? And I was staying in like a super small town. Like, you see the same people, like you just pass people on the street. And I gave him my phone number, which
smart move.
Mistake. Yeah, he starts sending me like these like quotes, just trying to see me again, and I had to ghost. That was the only, and then I didn't. And then anytime I like walked outside, I was like scared I was gonna run into him, because I didn't want to see him again.
Does that like happen in the States often, or is this just a Spain thing?
I did actually have a similar situation happen in the UK.
Oh, like how similar?
So I went to the UK. I found my bar, my pub that I like. And then I met this older woman, and she invited me to help plan this like 60th birthday party the next day. So I go back and I meet her daughter, and they were really lovely people. And the daughter and I like struck up a little friendship, or so I thought. And we hung out a few times. And I mean, there were times when I was like being flirty, and like I like love kissing people. So
you are a flirt. You are in the business of flirting as well.
I am in the business of flirting. So we kissed, and we did have sex in her car.
Wait, I didn't know that. You had sex in her car?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, like she like fingered me in her car. Anyways, all of that to say, then she told me that she had feelings for me. She asked me to stay in the UK a week before I was leaving. And I was like,
stay in what? Stay in, you're a tourist.
I know. She lived with her older sister, and her two, like her niece and nephew. I was like, what? I was like, I would have to get like a sponsor. She was like, we'll figure it out. And bought me jewelry, which was a lot.
Like a lot of jewelry, or
no,
like a lot?
That was a lot. Like it was just like
intense.
It was intense. It was like a nice bracelet, and I was just like, this is so thoughtful, but we're not even dating. And she was like, friends do that. And I was like, do they? I mean,
just met.
We've like weeks, like a few weeks we've known each other. And then when I came back to New York, and we were still talking, and she was and then I think
does she know that you do porn?
She does not.
Oh boy.
No, I didn't even get to that point where I was like sharing that. Like our conversations were still like surface, and then like one day she's texting me and she's like, okay, I'm just gonna say it, I love you. And I was like, beep, beep, beep,
wow.
beep, beep.
The L word.
Yes. Yeah. And then the next day she was like, I'm sorry, I was drunk, I didn't mean it. And then a week later, she was like, okay, I really did mean it. Then she made up this other girl to try and get a reaction out of me. It was like a whole, and then I had to just cut that off.
That makes me think that like there just aren't enough people around to have that kind of relationship with. And then once she saw,
right,
because similar things have happened to me at gay bars. Like I will go to a gay bar, and well, besides the fact that men are just very intense, like sexually, just gay men, but there's been plenty of times where I've gone into the Stonewall, and I'll sit down and next to someone and he'll be like, hey, are you from here? And I'm like, well, I live here now. I'm from somewhere else. And then you figure out they're from a small town in Wisconsin or from Iowa, and they heard about the stone wall and they were just passing through town. And this is the first time that they've really like interacted with other people who've accepted them for who they are and didn't realize like how big the community is in New York City, and just overstimulated. And then they fall in love with you immediately because they're just like, I can't have this where I'm from. I'm just here for a couple of days. I didn't know this existed.
That's what she was saying. She was like, I was never planning to date anyone again. And like, what are the odds that you walk into this pub and then I see you and then find out like, oh, you're into women. She was like, I feel like the universe made this happen. Like you can't. And I think for me coming from, New York, and it's just like people everywhere, everything everywhere all at once. And for her, it's just like not anything that she's experienced before. And like, I don't want to say this story and like, I'm not trying to like make fun or anything. Like I do feel really sad because I know that she like, it hurts, I'm sure, but I was also, and in my defense though, I was very honest from the beginning. Like I'm not looking to date, not like getting in a relationship.
You weren't leading her on.
No, I was like, I'm leaving. Like I'm not, if I don't go back to New York, I'm going, like the next place I was going to go was Thailand. And I was very clear about that. I never tried to lead her on in that way. But I like to kiss.
Yeah.
And I want to have an orgasm from someone.
From another human, a fellow human being. Yes.
Yeah, I like orgasms and kissing.
Yeah, that's
Is that
tough.
so bad?
I'm sure maybe she felt like she tried to believe that for a second.
Yeah.
Again, just in the desperation of just the fact that there's so little people that she can identify with.
Yeah.
And now you might
but
be.
It's like 30 minutes from London.
And she's a grown woman, and
she's in her 30s.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Maybe I'm giving her too much credit. I don't know, but
It was intense. It was very intense. It was very like stereotypical lesbian. Unfortunately for lesbians.
I was waiting for you to say that, or someone to.
Yeah. Yeah. So it happened to me twice.
And now that you might be moving to anonymous small town America, that might happen to that person out there that you have yet to meet, and then you have to negotiate these boundaries, and then it's a small town with just a couple bars, a couple of hangout spots, and you might be,
I just need to walk up and be like, whatever you do, don't fall in love with me.
You know what, I'm gonna post flyers and go to a FedEx office and start making copies right now, because you'll need them. I'll leave you a binder, I should say.
My
I'll leave you a binder of like OnlyFans contracts and other paperwork, and in the back it'll be like, please don't fall in love with me flyers.
I feel like if either of those two people knew that I made porn, they probably would have ran away pretty quickly, because
Our vocal viewer, John, said that he's had similar experiences.
Oh.
What was the thing that you missed from New York City? You kind of touched base a little bit on it, but like at the heart of it, when you think of New York City, like what do you, I guess maybe let me put it like this. Why did you move here in the first place? Why was your heart in New York? Because you're, part of the New York diaspora. Like, what was it about New York? And when you left New York, did you realize that, you missed what you first had here 10 years ago? Or was 10 years ago just a specific time and place that will never exist again? And maybe New York means something different to you now?
Yeah. I moved here. I had never been here. I had a friend who was moving here to do theater, and I had just graduated from undergrad, and I got some very stupid job that I did not like, and I was living home, and it was New Year's, and we got drunk, and he was did he ask me? No, I asked him. Because he was planning to move here, and so I was like, "Can I come with you?" And so he said yes. So we bought one-way tickets the next day, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had never been here. I didn't have any like big New York dreams or anything. Yeah, and then I applied for 178 jobs before I got one. And then and then I went to law school and did all of that and then left law. And then, but I think to the question, what did I miss? I want to say food. The food, just having access to so much good food, but there's just like an energy here that's I've never experienced it anywhere else. I just miss like the life of New York, like the liveliness, having access to a lot of things. I mean, the inaccess when it came to like being able to afford things, and that was kind of what turned me off on being here. But yeah, there's nowhere like New York, nowhere. And I missed it. I just missed being a part of something that feels bigger.
So you feel like that energy is still here, that electricity is
I
still...
do. Yeah.
I have a harder time myself trying to find that energy. I don't know if it's just like me emotionally or if that energy is kind of dissipated, because I don't think New York City is the same as it was in 2014.
No, and a lot changed, during the pandemic. Like so many people left, and I do feel like it feels different, and I just know so many other people going through what we did, with having to like being rent kicked out of our homes. Like literally I know multiple people right now going through that. And so there is just this kind of like, you love the city, but there's this feeling that it doesn't love you back. And so I think that's challenging for me.
Sounds like an abusive relationship, really.
I mean, it kind of is. Like you just get like everything you earn goes to staying alive in this place that it feels like doesn't want you here. And that's really difficult. So it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, as I guess politically, there's a lot of truth to people not wanting us here because we're not from here.
Yeah.
So
yes, yeah, and you and I have talked about this before, though. I mean, even like the small towns, the middle of the country states, they don't want transports. They don't want transplants there. They don't want people going there and raising their cost of living, and it's like a weird. I mean.
I think people, just me, my opinion, but like people get mad at individuals for trying to make a life when really the issues are kind of larger. I mean, we're not trust fund kids. We don't come from money.
Yeah.
We're not like buying up properties and redeveloping them and making and everything unaffordable for people who actually like are from here and live here. Like we came here for like school.
We've been part of like gentrified neighborhood. I feel like we were part of like gentrification of our last neighborhood, but
yeah,
unintentionally.
I don't know. That's another subject for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love New York.
Yeah.
But I was so ready to leave. I was so ready to get out of here when I left. I needed to leave. I did. And I think I could find happiness in I think that was another thing I learned, is that like wherever you go, so cheesy, wherever you go, there you are. But like actually, and like another like little cheesy phrase, like bloom where you're planted, wherever you are, just like you can make a life anywhere. It's just about like attitude and making the best out of situations. And I mean, easier said than done, but I don't know. Yeah, it did. I will say it did leave me with a lot of confidence. Like, I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I know that I can pack a backpack and go somewhere foreign where I don't know anyone, don't speak the language. Like, I can go. And so that definitely altered my like perspective of myself and, instilled a lot more confidence in me in that way. So I'm super, super thankful and grateful and appreciative of that time. Even though it was so short, it felt like I went back into my office when I got back a few weeks ago, and they still remembered my coffee order. I was like, I was not gone long enough for this, but it still counts, so that's okay.
Someone asked, what was my growth while Chelsea was away? I think that I knew at the time last year that I was burning myself out, and I was kind of just throwing everything on the wall to see what would stick. But I felt like I didn't have any other choice. And if I worked myself to near death, that something would come of that, some kind of success, getting the ball rolling with the adult content stuff, any other kind of like consulting work that I was doing. Because just like since early 2022, when, the pandemic just was relentless. And then the Omicron variant hit in early 2022. And then I had like $30,000 worth of jobs just disappear, completely cancel. And that was on top of things that had canceled the fall before. And then it was just a snowball situation where nobody wanted to apply their budgets towards media, what I do, like making stuff. And so, I was already looking for a full-time job at that point, but then I just started to pour all my energy into this one last thing, just like my last stand type of thing. And like, it got to the point where I went to urgent care for like this really bad headache that wouldn't, it was relentless for like 5 days. And the doctor took my blood pressure and he's like, are you okay? Like, he stood back. He's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I feel fine. I just have a headache. It's like, my blood pressure was 180 over 120. And he said, oh, you have to go to the hospital. And I said, well, I have other stuff to do today. This is going to have to wait. He's like, you might not have another day if you do not leave right now. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you.
And stress like does crazy things to your body. And oftentimes for me, I don't realize stress until those situations where it does something physically to me that I don't even notice. It's like when you're busy, you're preoccupied, people forget to eat. You're planning a party and you're just so preoccupied that you don't have a chance to sit down and you realize, oh, I haven't even eaten all day. Well, that's what stress does to me, is that like I'll go and then realize that my body is having an effect from it and my health is deteriorating. So, over the course of the pandemic, I was in the hospital a couple times because of stress and craziness, and it was doing crazy things to my body. And while you were gone, it was a real reset to tackle these stressors. And a lot of it is money related, but it's also how to tackle the stressors instead of just attacking the stressors themselves. It's the route toward planning, toward fixing these issues. So it's a couple like intermediate steps that had to be addressed. And my desperation to want to graduate in life. And that, for me, New York City is very much on the table. It's not completely solidified. I also do enjoy the serendipity and the frenzy and all the friends that I've made here. But if I don't live here full time, it's New York. People won't notice really because they're so preoccupied with their lives and the hustle and grind of New York City. If I am here in New York for work one day a month, one day every 2 months, that's about as frequent as I would be able to see my better friends in New York, because they're also so preoccupied. If I didn't say that I left New York, nobody would have noticed. I went to the same poly cocktails, the same meetups.
You've said that before. I don't think that's true.
It is completely true, because I went in January to hang out with some friends, and they're like, "Man, I thought you left New York," and I'm like, "I did," and if I didn't say anything, y'all wouldn't have noticed. I'm like, "Yeah, you're right," because these are friends, people that I consider friends that I haven't seen since 2018. So the fact that I saw that, like, that's just the way
time does go by. It's like you blink and it's been 4 months, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of big cities, but especially in New York.
Well, just because you can have someone live 2 neighborhoods over from you, but in Brooklyn, public transportation is so difficult. Like, you'll go like months without seeing them,
I don't know if it's public. I know everyone likes to take a dump on the F train and all that, and Mayor de Blasio and Mayor Adams for not in Kathy Hochul and all that. Like, but it's not really.
It does.
You really think
Brooklyn? It's because there are multiple points in Brooklyn, and they all go into the city, but nothing connects this way.
Yeah, I don't know.
You have a car.
Feel like there's such an excuse. Well, I don't want to give up a good parking spot, but I will for a good friend. Like, I just think there's
I'm
excuses.
talking about the people who don't have cars.
No, I think New Yorkers just have so many fucking excuses for everything. I don't think it's because of You really think it's because of transportation?
I'm not saying that's the entirety of it, but I think it's a big factor. And like going or like, God, how our friends in Inwood, how many, like, they're just, it's very
I've seen our friends in Inwood more often than I've seen other friends like in Brooklyn.
All right. You're right.
I know. I'm always right. The ugly couch has entered the room.
Hello. Speaking of the ugly couch, I was watching y'all's podcast, and y'all were just being so sweet about me. I was like, my little heart.
Yeah, we know. Gotta pay tribute to Chelsea B. Yeah.
Made me feel good.
Well, I think maybe if you were on that podcast, we'd get a lot more clicks, because I knew this mug wasn't going to bring in the audience.
You stop. No self-deprecating, you little handsome freak.
Let's talk about, we talked about your trip. We talked about what's going on now, but what's happening in the next 2 or 3 weeks that you're here? Tell us about
so much filming,
so much content, make a lot of time to make up for. As you said before, you feel like you were missing out and making up for lost time.
When Monday comes, I will have shot 4 scenes, 2 podcasts. It's been
You literally we had a rush right before filming this, because you had cum that was drying on your face, that you had to redo your makeup. Like, that's how
I had. Yeah, I got. If you see my eyes a little bit red,
this was like
because there's
about
cum in it.
An hour ago.
I can't wink.
It was fresh.
I'm not very good at winking with my left eye. I'll wink with my right one.
Yeah. So you just shot with Bunny Barnett.
Yeah, and her hubby, Johnny Barnett.
Cuties.
They were lovely. Yeah, It was hot too. But yeah, we got a nice big facial at the end. So had to come back, wash my face off, redo my makeup. And there's probably still some cum in my hair. I did not wash my hair.
Cum in my hair, just don't care. That's the life we're leading. All good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then filming tomorrow, filming Sunday.
It's a good diverse crew that you set up here in New York City. I will say that.
Yeah, a lot of repeats, just because I am trying to be more intentional about what I film and with whom I film. And I've also just made like really good friends with a lot of other creators. It's nice to I just and I feel like we talk about this all the time about how it's so much more work than people think that it is, and it's just nice to be around other people who kind of understand the fucking struggle. And like, and whenever I was alone and traveling, we kind of, because you help me with like editing and stuff, and your girl was editing her own videos, and let me tell ya, I hate editing. It's really hard. I was trying to learn Premiere, like, what are these buttons? And I started editing. This one video, it took me like 3 days, like 8 hours each day, and apparently I was like doing it wrong, and it was just like I just wanted to throw my computer across the room. So,
but it sounds like you have a new appreciation.
I do.
For the schmuck, poor schmuck who edits all of your videos.
I do. I have such an appreciation for editors, and I really told myself I was going to try and figure out Reddit, and it just, oh God.
Next on the list, Chelsea B does her own Reddit page.
Does she? Like, can I get like a little sub to do my Reddit for me?
Well, that would require you getting on FetLife and answering your damn messages, which you also do not do. But there are subs out there that I'm sure would put it on their to-do list.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I know. I know. I get message anxiety too, which apparently this is not the right industry to get that.
You also have in-person anxiety at Exotica. You're like, should I be doing this? Like, I don't like talking to people in real life. I get a lot of anxiety.
Be at home, like, with a cheeseburger. That's my happy place.
Sometimes you're a walking paradox, and I just like, how?
Yeah.
How? Well, any other news that you would like to plug? We're trying to do some off-site stuff at Chicago Exotica.
Yes. Yeah, TBD on going to that. Again, it kind of depends on like where this potential job here would end up. So timelines up in the air, but I would like to go to Chicago Exotica. I feel like I'm seeing that a lot of people are going out there.
Some people are begging you, or they're begging me to beg you.
Beg for it.
Excuse me, is Chelsea going? We want to know if Chelsea's going to be in Chicago.
Get on
and I'm
your
like,
fucking knees and beg me.
But they're on their knees begging me to beg you. So I feel like
I'm the train.
I'm the secretary of the begging. Secretary of begging Chelsea to do stuff.
Yeah.
That she just doesn't know yet. Okay, stop asking me.
I know. I would like to. Again, sometimes I just get like really stressed out, and then I get overwhelmed, and then I just like snail it.
Would we ever consider hosting a dating show?
Oh, that would be fun.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
If you're going to give me a job, yes.
Set it up and just let me know. I'll be there. Yeah.
I'm not going to turn down a job. Would you?
You know what I do miss? I really miss...
Lox and bagels?
No, I don't like lox.
I love lox. Go ahead. Sorry, you're going to miss...
He likes it a lox.
I likes it lox. Yes, go ahead.
That was funny. I miss hosting play parties. I loved hosting the play parties.
We got to get a goddamn space back. That's what we need. I think it would do really well with like growing the CCB brand.
The brand.
Oh,
I've given in to branding yourself. I was so against it in the beginning. I was like, ugh, creating a fucking brand.
Well, we're in a capitalist society. You got to do what you got to do.
It's real. You do. Yeah. With these Gen Zs, they've got it down, branding themselves. Just brand. Here's our brand.
Yeah, but I think further developing like the social medias with your with the adult content, with the art, with the merch, which
Yes.
is part of the art,
Yes.
which then
Oh, I
translates to
should have worn
doing.
my fanny pack or my little t-shirt.
Well, we had to rush and wash the cum off of
I
you.
did have to wash all of the cum off.
So
of
that I think.
y'all, it was a lot of cum. It was so much.
Oh my goodness. I was just like in the corner going through messages, trying to coordinate for things tomorrow. And then I hear, oh my God, it's so much cum. I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe it. All right. And back to doing this thing. Yeah.
And I wasn't wearing my glasses, so there was no protection. It just got like right in the old ojo. Spanish.
Oh,
Nailed it.
thank you. Figure that one out.
Yeah. So just set up that dating show. Would love to come in and host it. What would our dating show be like? What would be the premise?
It would be so chaotic. I don't know.
Because there are the different kind. There's like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and then there's like Love is Blind.
They're making a dating show for thruples. And it's going around poly Twitter and poly Facebook.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's the premise of it?
It's probably going to be very heteronormative.
So like unicorny.
Probably. Yeah. But it's going to be
I can't hate too much on unicorns because I see it different in a different perspective now. But I loved being a unicorn. I loved it when I was in college.
But you're also involved in like sex work and stuff. So now you see
It's
the
different.
value of coming in for a day and providing a service for a couple who wants to sort of itemize
Yes.
a woman, comparing that to like in real life. Now imagining, okay, they're out on field and out on more likely Tinder, and they're bothering pan and bisexual women on Tinder to be like, do you want to be our unicorn? Do you want to be our unicorn?
I was also like, I was 20 when I was unicorning. And so for me, it was just an easy like, la da da, no feelings, nothing matters. Just go in, have sex with this couple. Don't have to deal with it. I was a unicorn actually once here. But yeah, doing sex work now, and like I definitely see that there are a lot more layers to it, a lot more emotions, a lot hire a sex worker, you know. It's different.
Hire you.
Hire me.
So there you go. You have the emotional profile.
Yes.
And also provide that service to that couple.
Yeah.
And also they can walk away feeling like they didn't, accidentally ruin some stranger's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
But that I think we can expand on that in another episode, because I still
gotta-
want to talk more about.
We got off topic on what our dating show would be like.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's take suggestions.
I would just want to bring in like a whole bunch of different people. Like
that sounds like a dating show. Yes. No, we're only going to bring in 2 people. Yeah, you're hungry.
That was not a well-formed thought, but it sounded. I just meant like a lot of people of like different orientations and gender identities, and just like a big mix of people, and just put them all in like a big ring or a big room or something. I don't know. I got to think about this. It's a good question.
Anything else to plug? Last call here before Chelsea finishes getting the cum out of her hair and food in her mouth.
As soon as you said plug, I just thought but just immediately.
You are an adult woman.
I am an adult woman who doesn't do anal. I do have these little like anal trainers that I would like to try at some point, but I had a bad experience with anal when I was very young. So anyway, so nothing else to plug. I'm good at this live.
Yeah. So if people watch the live, or if you see the live rebroadcast and think we should do more of it, please let us know, because I like taking the questions live, because that means my inbox is a little bit less full of the same 3 questions over and over and over again. So please direct all your questions to live shows instead. I think it would help the whole community more if more questions were just answered.
That's what we're doing.
Communally,
That's what
yeah.
we're doing with our podcast, right?
In general, yeah. But I just think there's an extra little sparkle to it being live.
Oh, yeah.
I like doing it.
I mean,
live.
yeah, it's off the cuff, in the mo. Mint.
And on that note,
This is fun.
all right.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Bye.